So getting started with Vidcode. Let's rock and roll. So I'd like to start today with a quick poll, and I'll get to that in just a moment. Explain kind of why it's so great that you're getting started with Vidcode, show you how to get started with Vidcode, and then talk about how we can connect further to make sure that anything you need to get started in the best way possible, we are here to offer that. And then again, a Q&A. So real quick, what I would love in the chat box is just a sentence or two. I would love to know, just to make sure we get to everything, is what personally brings you here to this webinar today? Because we understand we might be working with teachers of all different backgrounds, maybe some school leaders, some tech directors. And so I just would love to know kind of what you would like to get out of this, or what I can make sure to touch upon. So just a sentence or two at most. And I'll wait about 15 or 20 seconds or so, and then I will move on from there. So again, what brings you to this webinar today? Great, so just to share some before we jump in, we're talking about motivating students, maybe motivating teachers to get started, have the courage to bring coding into their schools and libraries. We have some classroom teachers, people in a library, those that are working to bring coding, that don't have live programs, maybe new curriculums. Have some fans of Vidcode here. Vidcode in school, general tips and ideas. Great, great, great. Excellent. I think we're going to touch upon all of this. And please, if we don't, save your questions for the end, as I want to make sure everyone leaves here with exactly what they need. Great. So today we have one big objective. It's to make sure that you know, regardless of where you are with Vidcode, to implement it easily, immediately, and effortlessly. That's our goal today. So we're going to do kind of a brief overview to make sure that you are super strong about doing Vidcode, bringing Vidcode to your classroom. So the first thing is the why. We want to fight stereotypes with this platform and this program. If you believe the movies, code is a complicated and impenetrable dark art full of glowing green ones and zeros. Our goal is to make it, to expose to teachers, to students, to libraries, to design classes, to everything, that it's fun, it's creative, and most of all, it's important to our students' futures. So not only by getting started is it a great thing to do, but yes, you are doing good in the world. And there's a whole bunch of reasons as to why. Simply put, you're helping change the culture of computer science in our classrooms, in our workforce, and in the world, especially for young girls. Also, outside of the social impact of coding, it's important to learn because computer program teaches children to experiment, gives them the confidence to be creative. And I come from the education world. I was a teacher for 9 years, and we love grit. We want to teach kids to fail in a good way, to learn from that. And coding does that. It gives them the room to figure things out, to tinker, to explore, and to kind of get into the nitty-gritty of exactly what they're curious about. And one of the best things, too, is that they leave with the chance to design something that is entirely their own. So we just want to make sure that by getting started with Vidcode, you know that you're doing good and that this is a great program to bring for a number of reasons. So what are the best ways to get started? First, what we suggest, before you even do it and assign to your students, we suggest to try an activity. If you go online, you can try a tutorial yourself. It is free to sign up, and I'll show you exactly how to do that if you have not had an Educator account yet. But go ahead and try one. See it. See how fun it is. See how exploratory it is. Get an idea of exactly what you're giving your students so that everyone's on the same page of what coding is, and kind of how surprisingly fun it is for people that may not identify themselves as programmers. So the big ideas that I want you to take away real quick before we jump in. Vidcode is all about helping students learn coding in a fun and visual and a multimedia way. We have over 200 tutorials for your students so they can master computer science. We know computer science is the future. We know that regardless of what you teach, regardless of where you are, we're going to need to prepare our students for the future. And part of that is programming and computer science. Each activity is student guided, self-guided, with feedback and support. So for anyone that is nervous about bringing coding into their classrooms, this is the best way to do it in a way that fosters kind of those small steps, because it's scaffolded into our curriculum, into the plan. So once you have an idea of how the activities work, and we again encourage you to explore as much as you possibly can, and let's say you tried another one out, now it's time to add courses and really get going. So that is what we are going to do. Shall we jump in? Yes. So excuse me while I unshare my screen, just so I can quickly make sure that I can get to vidcode.com. So we are entirely a cloud-based system. You do not need to download anything for those that are just getting started for the first time. It is all online at vidcode.com. I am going to go through this slowly to add students, to assign courses, to access the lesson plans. But if you have any questions and you want to review this, this is being recorded right now. So please feel free to review this or reach out to me directly after this. I will send an email follow-up, so no worries about that. So first things first is you want to create an account if you haven't already. You can do that by signing up with a teacher email or anything like that. I'm going to sign up with, let me quickly, one sec, sorry. Typo in my thing, sorry y'all, give me just 1 second so I can make sure I have this right. Here we go. There we go. So when you create an account, you automatically have a section that is created. The way to get started is to create different classes or sections. And this is for my people who are in a library, in a classroom setting, in a school setting. Your sections can be whatever way you would like to kind of categorize your students. And again, students could be community members, they could be students in a classroom, whatever you see fit. By, again, accessing this little plus sign up top, you can call your section name whatever you would like. Some teachers prefer to do it by period. You might do it by grade level. You do what you see is best. We suggest starting with JavaScript 101. Our platform, again, we try to expose students to coding, but to make sure that everybody understands the kind of basics of it before we get into the advanced stuff, JavaScript 101 is a great place to start. And so this is automatically assigned to your first class, just as you're getting started with the free account. But we're going to talk today for those people that want to access our pilot and get some more bells and whistles to really see what it's all about. So this is just this is a list of all the different courses that you can assign. For my libraries, you could do Coding Club 1. It covers very similar to JavaScript kind of 101. It starts with that, but it has less quizzes in there. So if it's more of an exploratory kind of class. For my teachers that are hoping to bring this into their classrooms, you can do JavaScript 101. You can also create a different class for students that speak Spanish if you wanted to assign JavaScript 101 entirely in Spanish. So that's the first part. I'll just say period 3. It'll immediately populate. So I'm going to jump into the teacher dashboard. So let me show you how to add students to your class. You can do it easily with a URL. The way that we do that is simply by clicking this little plus sign down here. You can copy and paste this URL given. It will automatically add students to your roster. If you would prefer to go through the website, which is totally fine, students can simply sign up at vidcode.com, and then you can give them this kind of 5-word code. But we find a lot of teachers, libraries, and schools prefer to simply do this either via Google Classroom or through email. Simply by copying and pasting it, they will automatically be added to the roster. And this works nicely in Google or Microsoft, depending on what your school uses. So once you have your roster, it will immediately populate here in alphabetical order. It'll show when students log on and also give you an idea of when students joined. And so, for example, if you see that a student hasn't joined yet, we would suggest reaching out to that student and making sure that they receive the link, copy and paste and send it again, and make sure that your roster is complete. Once your roster is complete, now it's time to assign some courses. So by going up here on this, this kind of purple bar under the tab Assign Courses, this is where by clicking these three little dots, you can unassign if JavaScript 101 is not where you would like it to be. Excuse me, not wanting to assign it. But if I go into my course library down here on the left, this gives us our entire course library. Again, if you see up top for my middle school teachers and middle school leaders, we have a tab for middle school, a tab for high school, a tab for libraries, and a tab for at-home learning as well. If there's a tutor or someone that wanted to bring Vidcode into more of like a one-on-one basis or a small group. So I'm going to jump into the middle school pathway for a moment. The way that we can assign this, it's as simple as it looks by simply hovering over that. You can preview the course by clicking on it and seeing exactly what it's going to cover. Gives an idea of kind of what exactly we're going to review, the number of activities, and the number of hours that it will take. The way that our courses are all broken up is that they are scaffolded through an array of activities. We are a multimedia project-based coding platform. Students are creating, they are designing, and so you can always get a quick glance to see what exactly are students walking away with. And again, for our middle school and high school classes, we have quizzes for checks for understanding. Our coding club, for example, for our library does not have those quizzes in the same way. There's checks for understanding throughout to make sure that students are progressing in understanding, but not exactly in this same way. So if you're in the preview, you can click the Assign button and assign it to any classes that you would like to. But again, if you were in the course library, I'm going to go back. Simply by hovering over it again, instead of preview, you could just click Assign. It's as simple as that, and that's how you can start assigning your first classes to your students. I'm going to quickly go into, oh, my internet connection is unstable. I'm going to jump into the lesson plans and resources just so you know everything that's available to you, especially at first, because I know if you're looking into bringing this into your classroom, we want to make sure that you have everything you need to have the easiest transition into coding as possible. You do not need a strong coding background to bring this into your class or library. If I click on lesson plans and resources, here is everything a teacher would possibly need to bring coding into their classroom. There is nothing they have to worry about. We have provided everything we could possibly create. So if you look over here, we have a long, long list of all the courses that I just showed you. I'm going to jump to JavaScript 101, where we were just in. And it's broken down by each little project, each part of the course. So I'm going to start with create a filter. In this sense, once you find your course and you find exactly what part of the course you're in, you can access everything you need to start teaching this course immediately. We go over and about the activity, the resources, all the standards that are covered. We give a recommended way to kind of break this down if this was in roughly an hour-long class. Again, could be used for after school, could be used for a homeroom or an advisory class or lunch or anything like that. But we also try to give teachers everything they need to not be fearful about coding and bring it into their classroom. And so this offers any sort of terminology, a kind of code challenge. We always offer a sample solution so that teachers and libraries don't have to worry about creating the kind of product to show their students. You can just say, hey, this is what we're working on today, and here is the goal that we're working towards. So in this case, we're working on creating a filter. Here is the dinosaur. It'll automatically loop. And so we kind of have our YouTube video on the left and our code on the right. If you want, when showing a sample solution, you can at any time cover the code on the right, just so the students see that. Or if you so choose, you can show them certainly the code and the kind of finished product. I'm going to go back real quick just to return to the lesson plans and resources. So not only do we have all the lesson plans and all the resources you could possibly need, we also kind of offer extension activities to make sure that students that are progressing quickly are attended to. There's reflection questions to make sure that at the end of every project, when they're submitting it, they can reflect on exactly what they were doing. Again, extended reflection for students that are excelling. My favorite part, though, being a teacher, are two things that I especially love. One are the cheat sheets that we give for anyone who, like myself, would never want to teach something without really knowing what was going on. Is that this kind of breaks down in teacher-friendly, student-friendly language in a way. It gives you an idea of like, what exactly are we about to dive into? You don't need to read this. That's part of the thing, is that we try to make the turnkey curriculum so that we give you everything you could possibly need. But this is just a helpful thing to have in your back pocket if you want to make sure that you know exactly what's going on. But the other thing, and again, this comes with all the library lesson plans as well, because I know we have people here representing libraries, is that this is not just for a classroom setting. These same things in Coding Club are available. And this includes the slides, which as a teacher is my favorite part because I've spent way too much time making PowerPoint slides. And so this aligns with exactly what the students are seeing in their self-guided kind of coding editor as they go through the course. But again, a teacher can simply read through this as they are, in a sense, learning code themselves, breaks everything down to the terminology. And this can simply be, put on a smartboard in a hybrid or in-person classroom, or also shared via sharing a screen via Zoom or Google Meets. So this is your friend. I can't stress enough that the library of lesson plans and resources are available at any time to explore and see what you could possibly do and keep doing. So that's, again, just a quick overview. We talked about adding students. We talked about assigning courses and accessing lesson plans and resources. I want to jump back real quick to the teacher dashboard and show you how we can track student progress. So if I go into my sections, and let's say I go into period 2, creative coding. You naturally, as someone who wants to bring coding to your classroom, you want to make sure that you're kind of checking in and understanding where students are at. And we've tried to make that as simple and easy as possible too. So it's very user-friendly in the sense of on top, simply by clicking progress or sketches, gives you an idea of where students are at. If I click on progress, this is going to give me an idea of how students are progressing through it and how much time they're spending on each activity. So in this case, I can see where students started and where they stopped. I can see green tells me they've completed the course. Yellow tells me they are in progress. And then when they finish a course, we also provide a certificate, kind of like serving as a publishing stage to say, great job, you have completed this. This is for every course that we offer. So that's one way to kind of check in. If you click on sketches up top, we can also see in real time how students are doing with their coding assignments. Anytime a student saves a draft or publishes it, like when they're done, this immediately pops up on the teacher dashboard. So if I go under sketches, under JavaScript 101, which I just assigned, under create a filter, which is the project, let's say my class was just working on, it'll give the project name, the student who submitted it, and it'll timestamp it, the date and time of when they did it. So we can quickly at any point kind of jump right in and see where they were and where they left off. So it's a quick way for us to kind of check. I also really like this because it gives us the ability to, if I go up here to sort and filter, what I also can do is by clicking these projects are sorted by the date submitted. And so a quick way to kind of timestamp things in order of receiving them is by clicking date submitted, and it'll give me exactly when they were submitted. The date, time, student, and then again, I can click in on any of these and kind of see where they're at. So the one thing I also want to mention before we get kind of too late into this is that we've talked about adding students, which again, even if you have the free Educator account and not the pilot, you have unlimited students. So go crazy. Invite every student you possibly want to at least try this out. You can try JavaScript 101 immediately. We talked about assigning courses. It will be assigned JavaScript 101 to your initial course with the free Educator account, but with the pilot, you're going to get all the bells and whistles of all the different courses and all the different classes, all the lesson plans and resources, and we'll talk about that before we wrap up today. And also, we spoke about how going into the teacher dashboard, how to track student progress. The last thing that I didn't mention in the student progress and tracking it are the quizzes. Again, we try to be the turnkey curriculum, and so part of our job is to make sure that teachers don't have to worry about anything. If you want to bring coding into your school, into your library, into your classroom, we don't want you to stress about it. So not only have we created the platform and the curriculum and the lesson plans and the PowerPoint slides and everything, we've also created pre-made quizzes that are standards aligned, that are rigorous, that also grade themselves. So in this case, Jacqueline's my only student right now that's participating, but it gives you an idea of which course they're at and how they are progressing through it. It'll show you these things, these questions are written into the self-guided student classes. And so a teacher is never giving these, they are automatically built into the course as the student progresses through them. And this immediately populates once students complete it. If you see here, we have the correct answer, but we also have when the student attempted it at first, and if they choose to do it again. This is an easy way for you to give feedback and say, hey, I'd like you to take this course again so you can get a higher grade. But it'll break down exactly what they got wrong and give you immediate feedback on their progress. So again, we spoke about the progress tab being a quick way to kind of look at that. The sketches giving you a real kind of in-time stamp of exactly where those students are. And the quizzes being a quick way to kind of check in and see exactly if they're mastering the kind of standards aligned part of it too. So we get the creative side of it with the sketches, and we get the more kind of educational side of it with the quizzes. Again, for my people in the library setting, if you do a coding club at your school, for example, you don't need to access these quizzes. They are not necessarily included in the Coding Club 1 course or 2. But if you'd like, you can certainly assign JavaScript 101 if you want to check in that sense as well. So, it keeps saying my internet connection is unstable. Can you all hear me okay? Have I broken up at all? Okay, good. I worried I was talking for 20 minutes and nobody heard any of it, but as long as you're still with me. Great, so we spoke about adding students, assigning courses, lesson plans and resources, tracking student data. I don't want to leave without showing you what the students see, and that's, I think, the most fun part. So just to give you an idea, this is what the students see on the other side, just so you know exactly what getting started on their end looks like. So when you assign a course and they sign up and they access the course, they're going to see exactly what's laid out in the same way that you do. Creating so in JavaScript 101, we have 10 activities over the course of 10 hours. It'll give us an idea in JavaScript 101. We'll begin learning to program in JavaScript with a focus on creativity. We are the creative coding platform. That's kind of our thing. There are other coding platforms out there. We are the creative coding platform because we always have we are open-ended projects. We are, as you can see here, students start their coding by creating a filter, digital quilt, making a meme. They get to animations, game development, and they're always kind of learning more projects. And so that's kind of like our thing, is that we don't believe, and we know that coding is not just, when we talk about fighting stereotypes, it's not just numbers. It's not just kind of simple, we're like putting it in. We are exploring, we are engaging creativity. And that's exactly where it starts. So when we say getting started with Vidcode, you are getting started by exploring students' creativity. So if I jump into create a filter, just give you a quick idea of this, and then I'll wrap up my presentation and we'll answer any questions you may have, because I know I'm going through at rapid speed. This is what the students will see, and as teachers go through this, because again, our platform is for teachers with little to no coding background. You can learn too, for anyone here that wants to learn that doesn't have a background in this. So on the left, you have the instructions. This lines up with the lesson plans that teachers have, as well as the PowerPoint slides that I showed you. This lines up perfectly. Students are getting this in. This information. They move at their own pace. There is a text-to-speech button, so if students have trouble reading, they can listen to it. Again, with JavaScript 101, this does come entirely in Spanish for students that would prefer to take this course in Spanish. To our right, we have our multimedia gallery. We have tons and tons and tons of stuff that is preloaded: backgrounds, graphics, and audio. And the middle is the code editor. We start with a drag and drop model. We do move to more text-based coding, but we start with the drag and drop model because we want to focus on engagement. We want to work on changing the culture to get people feeling like they can code. So I'm quickly just going to show you, if I drag over this concert, it'll automatically loop here in my little YouTube video. If I click next, I will go through this platform. It'll break everything down. Again, this is students paced. At a student's pace, they can move at whatever pace they feel comfortable. And we just move from a drag and drop model. So if I grab this tint and I pull it over to the middle, it'll immediately populate. And then they can just click and explore. Not every course is like this, but in the beginning, we want to make sure that students feel comfortable. And so they are all drag and drop to begin with. And once students save a draft, so we can suggest, for example, at the end of any period, or, let's say lunch is over, whenever you are doing this after school or in class, at any point, I always suggest halfway through a class, you can just have every student save a draft. That, if you remember, will populate immediately into the Sketches tab for the teachers. And so you can quickly see how students are progressing through that. Once a student submits the assignment, so let's say they get through all of their instructions and they're done, when they submit the assignment, they can add a title to it. So in this case, I think it was Purple Concert. I already did that. We'll do Purple Concert 2. And then the description is to give them any room to answer any reflection questions that you have given them. Again, this is already in the lesson plan. So a great way to get started is to just read right off the lesson plan to have kind of, what did you learn today? I forget exactly what the questions are off the top of my head, but they can say, today I learned about, typing is hard today, isn't it? JavaScript and so forth. Again, once they submit it, it immediately populates into your teacher dashboard so you can see exactly when it was submitted. It'll timestamp it. And then students get to see exactly, again, their kind of finished product on the left and the code on the right. At any point, you can offer feedback and they can edit it. They can, in a sense, collaborate if you want to have them edit another student's work. And by clicking this share button down here, they can submit it via Google Classroom, or simply click on the embed code. They can copy this. This is not linked to student data. We take this very, very seriously, and we want to make sure teachers and students and libraries feel safe, is that this will exist outside of the student themselves. And so if they have a portfolio in the future, or if you want to submit a newsletter to parents and show them, like, you absolutely can do that to the safety of your students, families, and classrooms. But that's, again, what the students see. So that was a whirlwind of a kind of overview about getting started. But I'm going to quickly go back real quick and wrap up my little presentation here. One thing that we want to stress is that getting started with Vidcode is easy because we have worked very, very hard with teachers and curriculum designers to make sure that we have offered a turnkey curriculum to make it as effortless as possible. Now it's your turn to personalize that. Once your students have a good feel for the coding activities, you can start to group them into pairs. They can complete challenges. They can do whatever you need to. You can make it your own, what you need for your class. A great way to get students motivated. We find that this is a great way to not only introduce coding, but to build a passion for it. This was designed in such a way to be engaging, to be interesting, and to take skills and build on them in a creative sense. So the easiest way to use Vidcode to motivate your students is to encourage them to upload their own media. As I said, you can upload any sort of media you want. We suggest it be smaller rather than, something gigantic, but they can upload what they choose to. This is great for a cross-curricular sense. If you have students that are working on a a project in one class, they can collaborate with another teacher or students that are coding in a different classroom. And some teachers find that grading Vidcode activities can be very motivating, so long as students have a chance to remix their projects after receiving feedback. So the last thing I want to end with today is that by getting started with Vidcode, when I talk about like doing good, is that we are a research-backed company that believes very strongly that coding is the future and that this changes the culture. And we have research to back that up. So this was a study we did that only after 10 hours, so only after 10 hours of pretty much the introductory course of JavaScript 101, students were surveyed and their confidence in their coding abilities skyrocketed. They identified themselves as programmers and they thought of themselves as technology people. And so we say this to say that we have worked very hard to give you a product that you could implement quickly and efficiently, and that really can introduce a whole new world to students who have never coded, to teachers who have never coded, to libraries who have never coded. And so you really can, really change the stereotypes that we were fighting in the beginning to introduce a whole new world to students of all different backgrounds. So what I just want to mention briefly too is we have a wonderful kind of pilot going on right now, is that we want to give access and resources to teachers and libraries who need it. So we would love to connect with as many principals and tech directors and, kind of school leaders that might be interested in bringing this to either a school or a library or an after-school program. And so I will follow up with an email about this, but if you have a free Educator account right now, and if you can connect us to someone at your school, at your library, that really we can start expanding this, we are happy to offer a full pilot to anyone who is interested. So not only do you get as many students as you want to add, you get all the bells and whistles, all of the courses, any help, if you need any help from teacher support people like me, we are just here to make sure that coding is something that you feel comfortable bringing into your class. This includes, one-on-one demos if you need help or any PD throughout. And so we're here to just change the world of coding and not only get you started with Vidcode, but hopefully get schools, libraries, and principals and teachers everywhere started with Vidcode so that we can work together to change the world of coding. See, I wrapped it all up there nice and pretty. But that's kind of the best way that we can get started. I'd love to move now into a Q&A and kind of invite Ali to join me in this. We are happy to answer any questions you may have. It might be easiest, I'm thinking, and Ali, correct me if I'm wrong, is that we can start with questions in the chat box. And then if people want to kind of, I don't know if there's like a raising a hand feature in this. I'm a Google Meets guy.
Yeah, no, we're in a meeting, not a webinar. So I don't think we have the raising hands, but no, we've had a lot of great questions in the chat and I can just speak to a couple of the more recent ones here. Perfect. Yeah, so just Vidcode does work on iPads, on the browser, on the iPad. David, feel free to email Adam or I, maybe something specific about your situation, because not sure what's going on there. Let's see. So if you've already created a free Educator account, that's perfect. That's all you need for the pilot. So when you email Adam today, make sure that you just let him know which emails you would like for the pilot. So if it's your own, just confirm it's that email that you're using, and then we will set that email address to Pro. So great question there. Yeah, and Adam will include more details in the email, as well as what we're sharing right now. And oh, perfect. Yeah, thanks for sharing those standards. Yeah, and so Vidcode has content for upper elementary, middle, and high school. We have a Spanish version of our, essentially middle school course, but depending on what students have been exposed to before, sometimes that can also be great for the younger ages as well. And just looking at Jenna's question here, is the educator account always free? Is there a fee for the site licenses? So yes, educator accounts are always free. Everything that's right there for you. You can add unlimited students with your free account, and you have access to the JS 101 course, which is a great course to get started with. It has 10 activities. It's highly research backed. It's been used by millions of students. So great place to get started. And then if you're looking for more a quarter, semester, year-long worth of content, that's what really when it goes into the subscriptions or the licenses. And we do classroom licenses as well as school or site licenses for both schools and libraries. And typically our school or site licenses are unlimited, but we can also put together custom packages for 1 or 2 teachers or specific groups of students. But those classroom accounts start at around $5.99. And so there's lots of options there if you're looking to use Vidcode year round and access all the courses. Yeah, great question. Do they connect with the Iste state standards? They do. Vidcode's very aligned by design. So there are many, many standards baked in. We are actually rated #1 globally for how many computer science learning outcomes we support. And that's based on how kind of heavily aligned we are to the K-12 computer science standards, which include the Iste standards. So no matter what state you're calling in from today, there's like a 99% chance we align to your standards for computer science. So, and that can be for middle or high school or upper elementary as well. How is the pilot different from the study Vidcode is about to begin? Well, the research study, if that's what we're pointing to, that is, yeah, funded by a federal kind of DOE program. And I think they have all the classrooms set up already. So that's kind of a separate just research study. And then the pilot is, what's available to everyone here today. And, in a way it's similar. You have access to the study is actually about 40 hours of the Vidcode curriculum. So that would be JS 101 through 401 from the middle school. It's a middle school study. So it's kind of looking at that particular course, which, everyone here today can get started with and use as well. Depending on how many classroom hours you have for coding, really varies a lot for everyone. But that's about a semester long exploratory course. Yeah, really great questions here. Let me see. Are the teacher resources available in the free educator account? Great question. Yes, they are. So all of our lesson plans and pre-created slides and answer keys and all that stuff is available to you in the free course. You have access to absolutely everything, and once again, can add as many students as you like. So yeah, a real opportunity for high impact and just really getting off the ground with all the details that you need, no matter what there. So yep, that's all available in the free teacher account. Awesome. Yeah, I know so many people are kind of kicking off their spring classes. We're so excited for you to use Vidcode and to ask us any questions along the way. Here's a great question. What about the progress and grades? Are they on the free account too? Yes, they are. So the progress, it's all the same. So on the free account, you'll be able to see the progress for your students, all those different views, how much time your students spent on the tutorials themselves. And then you'll also get the automated quiz grades, and you'll have access in the lesson plan. In the kind of general resources section of the lesson plan, there's a grading rubric, and that is a kind of manual grading system that you as a teacher can use to apply a grade to open-ended projects. So you have kind of a hybrid model here. You have the automatic quiz grades that will be, logged and that you can view per student. And then you also have the grading rubric that we created to really grade the open-ended projects that your students create. So it's a nice kind of, option. You can use one, either or combine them to grade students' projects. Awesome. Yeah, there's so much great material there to try out. And, in terms of support, I know we're wrapping up here in the next minute or two, but yeah, Adam and I, you'll have our emails in the follow-up email. Actually, it might be from, yeah, Adam will CC me on that. We'd be happy to answer any more questions via email. And for the free trial, we can get you set up right away when we know the teacher's email. And then we also are looking to connect and set up a call with, whether it be a tech director or principal, just get to, talking and give a quick demo for whoever wasn't on this call, as well as part of the pilot. So yeah, with that in mind, I think I hit most of the questions. If we didn't, we'll try to make sure to address it in the follow-up email. So really appreciate everyone joining this really fun crowd for the beginning of this winter spring semester. And yeah, great job, Adam. That was really fun to go through with you.
Thanks, Allie. Thank you all again. And we'll be following up with an email soon.